Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, I'm your co-host, Big Waz, aka Wazzy Lambre, and back from the Mediterranean Sea, looking all sun-kissed and olive-skinned, my boy, Nando Vila. What's going on, brother?
I'm gonna say that that's racist against Spaniard. That's
Oh,
that
the
comment
olive
is
skin?
racist.
Or I guess I'm just
Yeah,
allowed to
I'm
use that for
claiming I'm canceling.
Italians? Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
gonna cancel
canceling you.
me. Wouldn't be the
Yeah.
first time. Man, listen, big shout out to my man Noah Colwyn for coming on in Nando's absence.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Jess Burbank for coming on last week. I swear to God, ain't my phone ain't never blow up so much in my life than when Jessica Burbank came on. Like, who that? Who that? Like, yo, guys, relax, man.
Oh.
She's a superstar. She don't got time for you losers. Sorry. Um, anyway, on today's show, a huge, major victory for the left in Chicago. Brandon Johnson, a Bernie bro progressive, won the mayoral race in Chicago. This is left hasn't seen him win this big in God knows how long. We're gonna get into that, but first, man, ProPublica this morning. Shout to ProPublica. They do incredible
The
journalistic
best.
work over there. They are incredible. They did a long, deep dive investigation into the lifestyle of one Clarence Thomas, aka the biggest Uncle Tom in probably American history. Um, his lavish gifts from one of his buddy billionaires, and the corruption, the obvious corruption is one thing, but it's always sweet when we can add just just outright lies and hypocrisy on top of it. Please play this Clarence Thomas clip for us, Jerv. Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good, Jerv. Clarence Thomas would prefer to be in a Walmart parking lot than any beach on the Mediterranean Sea, y'all, or so he would have us believe. Except ProPublica, again, God bless the good folks who worked on this, man. That's not really the case. Clarence Thomas is boys with I don't know if this guy's a billionaire, but
Yeah.
he's a
Oh
real
yeah.
estate magnate. What's this dude's name again?
His dude it's like it sounds like a cartoon villain name, like a cartoon
Harlan
Republican villain.
Crow. Harlan
Harlan
Crow.
Crow. Like what the
Uh,
fuck? Like that guy's got to be evil.
Harlan Crow, a Dallas-based real estate magnate. It's been uncovered that Clarence Thomas regularly for the past decade plus, every summer he's chartering this guy's private plane. He's on his mega yacht.
Yeah.
It says back into June of 2019, Thomas boarded Crow's private jet to Indonesia for 9 days of island hopping on
Yeah, they got
Crow's yacht.
Walmarts there, dude. They got Walmarts there in
Thomas
Indonesia.
had Thomas chartered the jet and the yacht himself for those 9 days, would have cost 500K, y'all. So this is
Yeah.
500K plus. We don't even know all the other perks and benefits. That's just the charter, the transportation that was used for this trip, and that's just 500K for some real estate magnate in um in Dallas. And of course, all kinds of other shit like these male only a male only resort and suite trips to New Zealand. I mean, we're talking about all kinds of perks being handed over to this dude. And people might say, okay, so what is this? Bro, he is one of the nine justices on the Supreme Court. He is an extremely powerful and influential person, and he's just straight up bought and paid for.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just I mean, first of all, the little detail that is buried in some of the reporting, that I've seen about it is that this guy Harlan Crow, again, sounds like a cartoon villain. He's a member of something called the Bohemian Club. Do you know about this, Was?
Not familiar with the
Um,
Bohemian Club. I don't think we got that back in
Oh, this
Queens.
is like some
Right? Yeah.
Illuminati shit, you know? Like
Oh
this is like
man.
some
Of
real Illuminati shit.
course.
This is like super weird shit, you know? It's like one of the things that Alex Jones has like always been obsessed with, the Bohemian Club.
Mm.
It's this basically kind of semi-secret society of all men, and they go to this yearly retreat called Bohemian Grove. Like it's been around forever. It's been around for over 100 years, and Richard Nixon would always talk about it on his tapes, and like he was convinced that like they were
They
after
were
him and
out to
shit.
get him. Yo,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
was out to get
Yeah,
Richard Nixon.
yeah. And so this dude is a member of the Bohemian Club. I mean, this is like some real Illuminati shit. This is like the top most powerful people in America. And they have this like yearly retreat called Bohemian Grove, which like God knows what the fuck goes down in there. And he would take Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas would go
Of
with him as
course.
his guest to Bohemian Grove as early as 1997. It's fucking, it's just perfect. I mean, it's just like, you know, uh, like you think we're all being ruled by sickos who just like don't give a fuck, but then you find out in the reporting that it's all true. It's really just insane.
100%. And these trips on these trips and at these retreats, who do you think Clarence Thomas is meeting with and hanging out with? It's all business leaders, corporate overlords, the ruling class. Like, all right, yeah, right wing activists is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We want you guys to read to take up this case. We want you to rule this way. But like, what else could it be? They're not lavishing these gifts on Clarence Thomas because he's such a great personality and just a great guy to hang out with.
Yeah,
They don't just enjoy this fool's company. He is bought and paid for. And the craziest shit about this, and we talk about it up here all the time, but I don't think people have a great enough understanding, is how anti-democratic the institution of the Supreme Court is. They are not appointed by voters, and it's a lifetime appointment, and there are no rules that actually govern their behavior, right? And so they essentially just get to operate as little kings. They treat the Supreme Court as their little fiefdom, and they get to peddle influence and get back whatever trinkets that they feel are their just dues.
yeah. No, I mean, I always get frustrated with libs who like fucking love the court.
Oh my
Like they love the
God.
Supreme Court.
Abolish the court yesterday, please.
Yeah, yeah, or like just ignore it, or like there's like it's just so ridiculous that they have all this power. They're basically unelected, and so we have very little. I mean, I guess technically there's democratic input because they're nominated by Congress and Senate,
Yeah,
but
please.
um, but the fact that they have these lifetime appointments. I mean, Thomas has been on the fucking court for over 30 years.
Yep.
Um, I mean, it's crazy. I
And his
was reading a
wife
book
did
that
January 6th.
yeah, his his wife is like a huge Trump like supporter. It's hilarious. But dude, I was reading Chuck Klosterman's book, The '90s. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen his man. It's fucking excellent, by the way. I mean, everyone should read it. But there's a long section on the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings, which were, by the way, run by a guy named Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
Brandon was
Anita
running those
Hill,
hearings.
all of that stuff,
Yeah,
of course.
it's like I never like really dug into that shit, and it's really wild. I mean, this guy's life is like one of the most fascinating things. Just he is kind of a perfect distillation of everything. Like his whole life is a perfect distillation of everything that is wrong with American politics. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, and for people, just a little bit of background of Clarence Thomas, like this dude, he is legitimately from some backwater, right, in the country. He's from rural America, deep south. Like this guy experienced virulent racism in his life. Like that's legitimately his bona fides as far as his upbringing. However,
Yeah,
he went to college and the bougie light skinned blacks shunned him.
yeah,
And he was like, fuck these elitist pricks. They think they're better than me. Watch this. I'm going to become a
yeah.
black conservative, motherfuckers. I'm going to
And
be
they
a
get
black
paid. Yeah,
Republican. And
yeah,
so, yeah, so much of that experience has sort of shaded his life as a public figure, right? That's why he's so anti shit like affirmative action, because he's just like, bro, The black bourgeoisie is a bunch of shitheads. We don't need to give
Yeah,
them any more trinkets like affirmative action. And so, yeah,
yeah,
he is a really fascinating figure in that way. But yeah, this is just like like in any normal functioning system, this dude would have quit today. Not
yeah,
even tomorrow.
yeah,
Like this shit would have came out and it'd have been like, yeah, this is completely fucked and corrupt.
yeah.
And there's no way I can do this job legit. There's no way I can be seen as legitimate in this job that I do. No shot.
No, and I mean, I guess there's technically a way to impeach a Supreme Court justice. Like it's theoretically possible. It's never happened. I mean, I guess one guy got impeached, but then he didn't actually get removed. Like back in like the early 1800s. So it's really difficult, almost pretty much practically impossible to. The fact that there is no mechanism for to get rid of this guy, that he can just do whatever the fuck he wants, like just
Insane.
violate all kinds of ethics. There's no way to deal with it. It's really depressing.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody right now to go read that piece in ProPublica because it is just it's elite news reporting. This gets to the
Yeah,
heart of everything that is fucked up about this, what our system and what we're going through today. And just this dude is just red-handed. It's just he's just been caught
yeah,
red-handed, um, being corrupt. And most likely nothing is gonna come of this, which is just it's all you need to know. Um, anyway, yeah, man. But on to some better news, Nando.
yeah.
You know, this brother who I'm not gonna lie to you, I was not paying much attention to Chicago's mayoral race, but Brandon Johnson, former teachers union guy, a union recruiter, organizer, former Chicago public school teacher. He ran for mayor of Chicago on a progressive message of taxing the shit out of wealthy people and corporations in order to give back some of those resources to working families in Chicago. And he won. He fucking won. Our guy Bernie, of course, campaigned with him. Just incredible stuff, man. And he took down basically a centrist, right wing Democrat type of dude, tough on crime, yada yada yada, a bunch of milquetoast shit that clearly there's no constituency for, not in Chicago anyway. And he won, Nando, a huge win for the left in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago is the third largest city in America.
Yep.
Nothing to sneeze at. I think he becomes the basically the most powerful progressive in America, probably. You know what I mean? I mean, Bernie's powerful, but like he's just in the Senate. Like he doesn't have any executive authority, if that makes sense. Like he can't do
Yep.
anything himself. Like when you're the mayor, you have a lot of personal power. And the fact that he's buttressed by the Chicago Teachers Union. I mean, the Chicago Teachers Union is one of the more aggressive militant
Militant.
unions in
Deserve.
the country. I mean, do you remember the Chicago teachers strike like
Mhm.
4 or 5 years ago? I think it was 2019. That was one of the longest teacher strikes in decades. And I remember at the time it was like a huge flashpoint between, like the libs were always like squishy about it, like like as they tend to be,
Always.
you know what I mean? And it was like, and they've really built a powerful political machine. I mean, I think it's worth underscoring that Chicago is a city that it has one of the are traditionally known to have one of the most corrupt political machines in
Oh,
American
hell yeah.
history. Right?
The Daily Machine. Uh-huh.
The Daily Machine, they fucking ran that city for fucking decades. And one of the more corrupt states in America. I mean, the
Illinois,
fucking
just
Rod Blagojevich.
generally speaking, yeah,
Yeah,
it's up there with Louisiana. It's
yeah,
up there when it comes to
yeah.
state
Like
government
Rod
corruption,
Blagojevich went to fucking jail. Like he went to
bro.
jail. That
They
dude.
got that man on
Uh,
tape talking about what you talking about. I got a seat that's valuable. I'm gonna
yeah,
extract
yeah,
value from it.
yeah, yeah. You don't want to do that on tape. You don't gotta say that. You gotta like say it a little bit like, oh well. But so the fact that the Chicago Teachers Union have organized to build a alternative political machine, because that's what it is. That's how you wield power. You need it to get shit through, to rally support, to discipline people. Like if this dude starts, try to privatize education because someone got to him, like the teachers union will fucking slap him down, and
Yes,
he'll have
sir.
to answer to them. That's the whole point of a union and its effect on politics. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they during the campaign, all the cops were like terrified. They were like they were saying that there's gonna be like death, like mass death on the streets and shit like that.
Right,
And
and
it is
people are
one of
gonna
the
quit
challenge.
on the spot and yada yada yada.
Yeah, and it is one of the challenges of left wing politicians in any kind of city government is that the police, who are so integral to to a functioning society and have so much power in kind of day to day, affairs of a city, like they do all kinds of shit to like fuck your shit up. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
they do like quiet quitting. They allow crime to go
Mhm.
high, which pisses people off. Like they have
And
ways
Nando,
of
most importantly, these motherfuckers could get you killed and get away
yeah,
with it. That's the part that doesn't get said enough about the cops. Like they are the state's arm of violence. Like they're the ones who are permitted to wield violence. And because of this fact, like they know how to kill people.
yeah,
This is real shit we're talking about here.
yeah. No, and so that's always going to be a challenge with any left wing kind of power within a city. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's like I said, Chicago, third largest city in America. It seems pretty obvious that the left is making gains in city governments, right? There's obviously all of like the New York state councilmen and things like that. Like
Mhm.
there's like a DSA caucus and all that shit. In LA, there's the Nithya Raman, Hugo Soto Martinez, Eunices, like the amazing work that some of our friends have been doing here in LA to get
Mhm.
left wingers on the city council, which is where the real power is, right? Like in LA, there's like a weak mayor. And then in Chicago, the fucking mayor is basically a Bernie bro. It's pretty remarkable. The left still doesn't win anywhere, kind of statewide or things like that. But man, there's a lot of power in these cities, and things can get done. Hopefully he can do something.
Yeah, and you're gonna fucking love this. So of course the Chicago Tribune, they endorsed his opponent because God
Yeah,
forbid you endorse a dyed in the wool actual progressive working guy, union guy. God forbid you ever support that. And on their editorial page, I just want to read to you the headline, Nando. You're gonna love this
yeah.
editorial. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson found a place in his speech. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson found a place in his acceptance speech for God, but not Barack Obama.
Oh my God, poor baby, Obama.
Yo, fam, you can't make this shit up with these people, bro. Like,
Yeah. You must
literally,
genuflect to Obama. Who gives a shit? Get the
like,
fuck out of here. Why is he supposed to thank Obama? What the fuck?
like, oh, he's a black left, blah blah blah, and he like Barry is the antithesis of everything this guy stands for.
Yeah,
He's centrist, neoliberal scum. Where was Barack
it's crazy.
Obama to endorse his candidacy? He wasn't campaigning with him. It was Bernie Sanders who was doing that shit.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But these
And dude,
libs, man, they're just so
the
obsessed with
lives.
Obama, bro. It's disgusting. Like you literally invoked God. Like, who does this guy think he is? He's thanking God in his speech, but not Barry. Like, yo.
It's crazy, man. I mean, and this other guy, Paul Vallis, was like a big, education privatization
Of
reformer type guy.
course, Betsy
I think
DeVos
fucking Betsy
was
DeVos donated to him. I mean, that's wild.
talk
That
about
is wild.
bulls. One of the
And
biggest
and
bulls
and the
in
thing is,
anything.
it is interesting that he ran, because we've talked about this a lot, and I think I don't even know like what to think anymore because the politics of crime are all kind of they seem random. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the guy Vallis ran on a tough on crime, thing, and you would think like that's been the kind of thing du jour of the past few years, and people have won on it, and it's worked. And Brandon Johnson ran on a kind of social services. He's not like defunding the police or anything like that, but it's like an emphasis on social services as a way to fight crime.
Getting
Increased,
people
uh,
mental health care
yeah,
stuff. I think
all that
like
shit.
daycare type of stuff, like shit that people need and use.
Yeah. and
Go figure.
and he won, which is like goes against like all of the conventional wisdom, which I, by the way, like I kind of agreed with. And I was like, man, this the crime shit is tough, man. It's always been tough to run against. Like it's just so like it's the classic thing. It's so
But I
easy.
think if you're in a place like Chicago, because I think what Nando was trying to get at is that a lot of the conventional wisdom is that the people who are most affected by the crime tend to be the ones that are like, no, like we really do need some fucking cops. We really do need some policing over here. Like there are people here who live here who aren't criminals and are being deeply affected by the problem of crime in this area. So the conventional wisdom being that a tough on crime rhetoric will be very appealing to those people. But I would submit that, man, if you black in Chicago, man, and you hear the tough on crime rhetoric, you got to receive that. That lands on your ear a little differently, bro.
Yeah, like Laquan McDonald shit.
Come
I
on
mean, like
now.
that was it. But yeah, I mean, and in the exit polling, like the precincts that were most affected by an increase in crime in the past few years voted for Johnson and not for Vallis. Like they
Hmm.
voted for the progressive guy. Again, I don't know what to think anymore, because that seemed like such a trend, right, in the wake of George Floyd, kind of like tough on crime people getting elected, on a pro police platform. But yeah, I mean, this one kind of bucked the trend, and obviously, like, there's not going to be like any kind of national trend pieces
No,
about it being like, oh my God, like, look
no.
what, like, dude, Chicago's the third largest city in America. This is a big fucking city. This is a
It's a
lot of
huge
people.
it's a huge deal, and the mayor can actually wield some level of influence. Now, of course, as we know with anything, the corporations, the corporate power that governs a lot that goes on in the city, those interests, they're not just gonna lay down and just be like, oh yeah, let him get he won fair and square. Just let him get his agenda through. This is what the people of the
No,
city want. Let it happen. No, 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 no. That's
no.
not gonna that could never be allowed
They'll
to
call their
stand.
friend Barack Obama, you
Oh
know?
my God,
Eh,
easily, easily.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, this is super heartening stuff. We rarely get any great news like this, and so it's important that we share it. Just one last thing. Y'all know we not that type of show. We don't fall for the Trump is going down, blah blah blah. Yes, he got arrested. He turned himself in New York. Even libs, man, who are following this case are like, this is pretty weak sauce, this
Yeah.
shit in New York. It feels like this DA is trying to get famous.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that prosecuted Donald Trump finally.
Yeah.
But this shit is weak sauce. In Georgia, they got some shit. Like
Yeah.
this dude's like calling people and like, yo, change the votes type
Yeah. It's
shit.
like,
You know what I
give
mean?
me
Like,
one more vote than the other guy got.
yeah, yeah. In Georgia, they got some legitimate dirt, but this New York shit is crap. I'm sorry. I know we all hate Trump and he's a scourge on our society, and I get that. But this is small potatoes, weak sauce, bro.
I mean, I was always like, the Stormy Daniels thing, I was always like, wait, like, you can't do that?
Campaign fraud. He
Yeah, like, what?
Wait, you can't pay liquors
Wait, you
off?
can't.
Like,
Yeah, what?
they've been doing this for hundreds of years in politics.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what?
I thought
That's
that's
not,
what we
like,
did in politics.
yeah, like that's
People are
illegal. You go to
crazy for
jail for that? Like,
that.
what? This is not. This doesn't make any sense. Um,
Yeah, but the
okay, then.
idea, but just so people know, like the idea is that he misappropriated funds, and on his, on his declaration of what the campaign spent, he lied and blah blah blah. Like they trying to get this fool on a
But that's
technicality,
that's
bro.
like that's like a technicality, dude. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, okay, let's assume for a second that Trump, like, went down for this. Like, let's just, like, grant me that for a second. I agree with you that the case is pretty weak, and that they might, like, suffer like an embarrassing defeat.
I think they're gonna lose.
Um,
100% they're gonna
but
lose. Especially in New
but
York. People love Trump in New York.
let's say that he does go down, right? The thing is, obviously, like that would be remarkable because like it's a U.S. president going to jail or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that's like a huge thing. But my read on it is like obviously like, every U.S. president does crimes like all the time, right? Like they
Yeah,
like every single one could
it's
be
part for the
uh
course.
as part for the course. It's like kind of comes with the territory. But they had to find for Trump because Trump is so sui generis and they all fucking hate him. Like they that is true. Like the sort of powers that be don't like
Yeah,
having Trump around.
deep
Like
state legitimately hates Trump.
yeah, like
Legitimately.
like when Trump talks about the deep state, it's like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they don't
like
fuck with him.
they want to get him, they don't want to deal with him, so they had to
He's
find
dissing our NAFTA shit. He's dissing our
yeah
wars abroad. Like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Like,
he's just like
that's our bread
fucking
and
up the
butter. What is
smooth
this guy doing?
yeah fucking up the smooth kind of functioning of the system. And I'm not trying to say like Trump is like this like kind of threat to the system. He's like not even because he's too much of a fucking lazy
He
coward.
ain't got it in him.
But they had to find a crime that was so random and that like no other president would do. You know what I mean? So they wouldn't set a precedent for like, oh, he like committed a war crime. Like that's all of them would go to jail. You know what I mean? Like they had to find a crime. Like he bought a hooker and then paid her to stay silent. Like no, like these days, no one running for president is stupid enough to do that like that way. They're all just kind of psychopaths. They wouldn't even buy a
And
hooker in the first place
but my
anymore.
thing is, Nando, on both sides of the ideological divide amongst the people in America, like what percentage of Americans actually think you should go to jail for paying a hooker not to snitch on you in public?
Yeah,
Nobody thinks this is a
no,
jailable offense.
no, no.
Nobody in their right minds thinks this is a jailable offense. It's just the libs are so weird, man. The shit that they'll do is just like, yo, let it go.
Yeah,
Just let
yeah,
it go, bruh. Oh, he
yeah.
flouted the law. Like, that's what these people do. Shit is crazy to me, man.
He's still going to win the primary. I mean, do you see DeSantis in the last few weeks, man? That dude is fucking struggling,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it's tough.
That dude does not have the
He is
juice, man.
self-destructive.
Man,
Yeah.
it's like they called him up to the major leagues, you know what I mean? And he
Yeah,
got the
he's a
yips,
small
dude.
fry.
Like,
Like this dude was just he was an anonymous fucking Congress critter, man. Nobody had ever thought like, oh, we're gonna tap DeSantis for greatness. He's
no.
not. He
He's such a
barely won that
weirdo, too.
governor.
Like,
Son, strange.
he's so weird. Like, I mean, those pieces that came out about his personality and just like how like icky he feels around humans. He doesn't like to do like Trump like hates everyone. That's true, but he's so good in a crowd.
He
You
gets
know, like
people, bro.
dude, he's so good in the crowd. And like I feel like Trump is starting to cook again. I don't know, like he's starting to cook. Like, did you see the clip on Fox News when he was on Hannity talking about DeSantis? Like when he was
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know,
he
he came to me
begged.
for the endorsement. He was toast. It was finished. And he came to me and he was like, listen, Ron. Even if George Washington gave you an endorsement, even if the late great
Great,
Abraham Lincoln
the late great Abraham Lincoln could have endorsed you. You're
yeah.
dead in the
And he's like,
water,
so he came to me and he went for the endorsement and he wrote something out and it was terrible. And so he took it and I made it great.
bro. Bruh, DeSantis is
Yeah.
not beating this dude. It's not
No, man.
happening. He's a
And
small
DeSantis is like,
fry,
oh,
bruh.
I'm focused on delivering for the people of my state. It's like, Trump is like, DeSantis
Please.
is a fucking pussy. And he's like, DeSantis like, oh, well, actually, no, I'm not. Because like, like, he's a fucking nerd, dude. He's a fucking nerd. We forget, DeSantis is like a Yale guy. He's like a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
nerd.
He's a dork. Big time dork. It's not looking good for him.
Yeah.
Them tech bros might have picked the wrong horse to bet on. But anyway, man, that's our show for today, man. Want to thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, become a Patreon at patreon.com/count the dings. Make sure you're checking out all of our other Count the Dings offerings. Nando, thank you for coming on again. We will see you guys next week. Peace out.